Hello, everybody. I am F. Scott Feil, and I'm joined tonight by Jerry Durham and Mark Milligan, two of the best in the field of physical therapy. And we're here tonight to kind of talk to you about an interesting topic called advocacy. I'm sitting here tonight representing the Healthcare Education Transformation Podcast. Some of this will be broadcast on that, so you guys can listen there. Jerry, I'm sure you'll be broadcasting some of this as well.
Yes, I will. So you'll hear, we're going to share this recording. So this will be shared over at the Healthcare Disruption Podcast. I'm doing a little joint podcast share and just trying to get the word out here about advocacy. I'm a big believer in this, so happy to get on the line with all you guys.
Awesome. So the reason that we kind of came together tonight was because basically there's 3 states that still kind of need help trying to get direct access for physical therapy. Mark and I happen to reside in one of them in Texas, Illinois and Missouri being the other 2. So Mark, could you maybe just give us a little bit about direct access and what it is and you know, what are some ways that we can change from going to not having direct access to having direct access?
Yeah, I appreciate that. F. Scott and Jerry, it's an amazing opportunity to be here with you guys. I don't have a podcast, so I'm like the outsider here. But I'm happy to be a part of. I know, get with the times, but it's awesome to be a part of what you guys are doing and have this platform. I mean, I think we have to fundamentally look at what advocacy means, right? And so, by definition, advocacy is an activity by an individual or a group which aims to influence decisions within political, economic, and social systems and institutions, right? So we're looking to change decisions and activities within that political arena, which boils down to one thing, actually a few things. One, it's how we practice and how patients access our care. And I think we have to look at those 2 things individually, right? 6 states right now have limited access: Alabama, Illinois, Mississippi, Missouri, Texas, and Wyoming. But the 3 states that have the most limited access are Texas, Missouri, and Illinois. Really, we can't go past an evaluation without the approval of a physician or a nurse practitioner or a podiatrist or a dentist or a chiropractor. Really, that's the fundamental issue right now. And to be honest, Scott, to go to your question, what does it mean and what does it mean to not have access? Let's boil it down to a really simple point. It means that a patient, regardless of method of payment, can't see you as an expert in musculoskeletal care for their treatment. They could pay you in cash. They could pay you in donkey trade. They could pay with insurance. It doesn't matter how they want to pay you for your service. You can't provide a service without a referral from another provider giving you the okay in the area of your musculoskeletal expertise. That's what it means.
And Mark, I got to be honest. So I'm from New York originally, right? I've lived in a bunch of places. I was in the Carolinas. I was in Georgia for a while. And recently, with the addition of a new baby, we've just moved back to Texas to be closer to family. And it, looks like now I'm going to be here for the long haul, So this is something that now is actually super meaningful to me. Whereas before, I had a brief, overview of what was going on in the few states that didn't have it. But once I got here to Texas and I found out what was going on, man, it turned me into an interesting kind of, let's try to figure out what it is. Let's learn everything about it. Like that, it was amazing transformation.
Yeah, it kind of flips your idea of what it means. I mean, it's actually difficult to conceive that a consumer can't purchase your product or be a part of or have your service without somebody else's approval for it, especially when it's corrected.
That's what pisses me off more as a citizen and as a consumer, not as a physical therapist. I'm in the state of Texas and I can't go to a physical therapist when I need a manipulation or I need a quick treatment. And I know what I need, but I can't get to back because I can't reach back there. So I'd like one of my therapist friends to treat me. Well, I can't do that without a script. It's insane. This is what really pissed me off when I first started looking into it, and I think it's even more of a testament of how important it is, the fact that Jerry's state already has direct access and he's still coming on here to help us out with this.
This is, I think, a testament to what needs to happen in our country is that other therapists in other states need to see and understand the magnitude of the situation. And I'll shut up now, Jerry.
Well, I think first off, you guys have to watch your language. I think F. Scott said shit, and my listeners maybe not used to that strong of language here on the Healthcare Disruption podcast. So usually we prefer the word fuck or whatever from there. So from there forward, please use bigger words. I'm guaranteeing my listeners, when they heard shit, it just went straight over their head. They're used to it. You know, my goal is to get an E on every single podcast, and I think I'm 23 for 23. And even the one that doesn't have an E, I put in a complaint to iTunes to listen to it again.
Again.
Yeah, here's the deal. So we start out with advocacy, direct access. And I agreed to be in this group. I agreed that I was going to give my time and energy into this conversation, because if you believe you're patient focused, if you believe you're patient centered, if you believe you're client centered, then this conversation's for you. As a physical therapist, this is not a direct access issue. It's a access issue. Everybody's heard me talk about we are a solution to healthcare through the triple aim. The third largest spend in healthcare is musculoskeletal. The 70% of that musculoskeletal spend is low back pain. We are a solution to healthcare, except for in all those states Mark mentioned, because you can't get to us. So this is goofy as hell. And it's goofy from the sense of, back to F. Scott, you wake up with low back pain, you know, because maybe someone helped you with your shoulder, that your physical therapist is the best person to see, AKA you don't know, the research proves it also, but you want to see your PT, and in those places you can't. And this is a huge access issue to the right patient, the right person, the right time. Nobody in those states, none of those legislators in those states can reference that in good conscience, because they are limiting this isn't a physical therapy issue, people. The legislators are limiting their constituents' access to the right entry point in healthcare.
And just as a side note, what's crazy to me, and obviously I'm a little more well-versed in this now because I am a physical therapist, but I have a lot of friends that are doctors, and the people that are having to write the script for me to get physical therapy have so little musculoskeletal training. They're glad to write the script because they don't know what to do. They're like, I don't know, man. Good luck. Hope your therapist takes care of it. You know, it's like I said, I'm more pissed off as a consumer than I am as a physical therapist. This is literally as somebody who moved to a state that doesn't have direct access. I'm seeing now on the flip side as a patient what it's like. And it's mind blowing.
So let's, sorry if you guys got my dogs in the background. Hey, let's, Mark, I want you guys, let's go to solutions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can put it patient centered, consumer centered, PT centered. Let's go to solutions. I want you to talk, Mark, about what you've done there in Texas to try to bring about some change. So if you don't mind sharing that.
Yeah, Texas is pretty aggressive. But it's also really frustrating. The legislative session in Texas is every 2 years. So it's super frustrating because the largest state other than Alaska in this country, with arguably the most people in this country, they have their legislative session every freaking 2 years. So it's a big deal. And here's another kicker: is we've put in legislation for patient access for the last 7 legislative sessions. So 14 years they've been fighting for access in the state of Texas.
Yikes. 14. Thanks for doing the math, because I was just thinking that was 7 years. That's 14 years, dude.
Wow. Yeah, and direct
almost
access,
2 decades.
If you go into the history of direct access, the first state to get it was back in the 50s, wasn't it?
I think, yeah, if you look at Nevada, they started in access in the 40s or 50s. Don't fact check me on that, but it's
not too far after that in the 60s, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So in Texas, what we do is we filed petitions for access the last 7 legislative sessions for 14 years. We aggressively have a lobbyist, and we aggressively have key contacts in every congressional district and legislative district to reach out and make partnerships with the people that are on Capitol Hill to see if we can make those bonds. And we also donate and give money through a PAC fund, right? The Political Action Committee raises funds for these. You got to, but we raise funds in order to help push our legislative agenda through the state of Texas. And to be honest, it's it's a difficult battle hill here. The last legislative session, I testified 4 times on Capitol Hill in front of congressional hearings in order to get this pushed through for the Texas legislature. So we're trying to rally the troops, and we try to raise money. But I think, part of the point of this, of what we're talking about, is we're missing a big piece of what we need to be doing as PTs. We're missing it, and that's really connecting with patients and getting consumers, right? Getting patients pissed off about what they can't do, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I think we need to bring home.
Jerry, you've done a little bit of advocacy up at Capitol Hill there as well, right?
Oh yeah, my personality and ego does real well on Capitol Hill. As I show up there going, hey, got this stack of research. I know I've donated. I vote. And I make sure when I walk in the room, I vote. And they're always like, oh, don't talk about voting. And I'm like, hey, I'm Jerry Durham, my constituent. I vote every single time. They're like, oh, don't share that. And I'm like, I vote all the time. So I share all that. And then you sit down, and within 30 seconds, I'm like, are we reading the same stuff here, people? Everybody's like, oh, Jerry, no, we gotta build a relationship. I get it. So I wised up, and back to Mark's last thought about why we're here is I wised up and said, look, we have to be in the Capitol. There's no arguing that. 24/7, 365. Just sent that tweet out the other day about APTA. That is my value for being an APTA member. I want someone, if you ask me, why am I an APTA member? I want someone in the Capitol 365. So yeah. I pay my dues and I give to the PAC. We have to be there, right?
I'm very appreciative of both of you guys for all the work that you've done at Capitol Hill, because I just am not knowledgeable about that kind of stuff. I never have been. I've never really been interested in it, but I do think it's a necessary evil. It's something we've got to do. But we got it. This is, I do give to the PAC and I do give to APTA. I'm 11, 12 years member of APTA because I don't know, but I know if I give my money to the right people, they'll do something good with it.
Yeah, so they know what to do with it. They know what to do with it. And I'm going to tell you right now, because there are going to be listeners out there going, I don't like this. I don't like my money spent on Capitol Hill. Well, so then now it's time to take a step back and go, what value can you bring to the profession? That's fine with me. And that's what we're here to talk about.
Exactly. I think that kind of moves us along nicely to our next point is that, we've talked about this amongst ourselves. There's many ways to get from LA to New York, right? And there's many different avenues that we can take, but at the same time, we can all meet at the same place. So, we have to start being a little bit more of doers, right? We have to kind of be the and therapists. We need to be the people that go to Capitol Hill and pay their APTA dues, and pay money to the PAC, and go out and, educate communities about what's going on and why they can't get access to us. So, I think I'd like to kind of talk about the many different avenues that we have to take. And, why is direct access so important? Why are we doing this? Why are we even, taking the time to go through all these avenues with people?
There's nothing more engaged than a Medicare recipient, so someone using their Medicare benefits when it comes to the end of the year. Because, man, I've never had so many signed letters to take back to DC or even to take to my state capitol. I bring the Medicare stuff to the state capitol than the end of the year when we're looking at therapy cap. So just get yourself in that context here as Mark's going to share a little more about all this.
Well, I mean, there's so much there, Scott, that you just mentioned. It's really quite insane because I think that we really have to, there's a lot of different ways we can go about this, right? I mean, you go from yourself as a profession being an aggressive advocate for our profession, right? Because, lobbying and legislation and advocacy also boils down to our scope of practice, right? I mean, we're talking about access tonight, but every time there's a legislative session, your scope of practice is at risk. And so access is one of the key things, but we really have to look at our profession as a whole. So you have to be a staunch supporter of physical therapy and really be an advocate for what we do. Secondly, you have to be an advocate for your patients, right? Without our patients, we don't have jobs. And so we have to understand that patients are the center of what we do. And if they can't access you, if they can't get to you, if they don't see you as a primary point of entry into the healthcare system, they're missing something, right? The patient's point of entry determines their path of care. And by all the research points to the fact that the point of entry of physical therapy determines an easier, less expensive, better outcome path than any other point of entry for musculoskeletal care, right? And so we have to get fired up about this. We have to approach it in a few different ways. One, you have to donate to the PAC. That's it. You got to give money in order to help support the funds, pay for that lobbyist to be on Capitol Hill 365, Jerry, because that takes money. That pays somebody's job, right? Secondly, we have to be involved in the local community. You've got to stand up. You've got to be a key contact. You've got to engage as a professional in our profession. I'm sorry, but that's what you signed up for. I mean, you're a physical therapist. You can't opt out. Third, we have to engage patients, right? Our patients are consumers, and the law that restricts them from choosing us as a point of access to the healthcare world is a restriction of that consumer's choice. There's no other way to put that, right? And so patients we have to educate patients and get them riled and get them fired up about the path that they have to go on that would otherwise not be there if they had access to physical therapy first. I mean, what else do we have to go with, guys? I mean, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. I mean, I think this really kind of brings us to our wrapping point and our call to action. Right?
Wait a minute. Let me give one example, F. Scott, before
absolutely.
we wrap up, because I want to give the listeners an example of what Mark just said.
Yeah.
So
great idea.
I've got offices. I see patients, right? I got bills to pay. I got patients. Those I'm going to go on the record. Your patient is a better advocate than you. Your patient's voice goes further than yours. Okay. And we can disagree on that. I'm going to stick with that. When our patient sends in a letter to their senator that says, I went to physical therapy, I paid my money, I got better, I can't live without it, it's far more worthy than me walking in going, I have a physical therapy business, AKA I have a vested interest. Yeah. So the APTA website has the advocacy section. They've got more printed up freaking letters than you guys can imagine. So every time the end of the year, cap, anything, I'd go in there, I'd print up a bunch of letters. I'd put them at the front desk. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't expect my front desk person to be engaging people with this. I wanted people to walk in because the way my front desk was set up, you were going to see this letter. And then the physical therapist was responsible for asking their patient who they had their relationship with on the way out if they wouldn't mind taking a look at this, because if they didn't know, their healthcare benefits were in jeopardy. If you don't mind, would you sign this, and we're going to take it back to the Capitol and because I would put them in the appropriate place. We sorted by zip code, and I would take them back to awesome. It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult, people. Nope. And I'm going to tell you right now, I loved walking in with those stack of letters, man. I used to walk in and go, at my state capitol, there were a couple of my representatives, not representatives at the state level, but whatever. I walked in and they said, hello, Jerry. No joke. And I'd say, how you doing? Yep. Same thing this year.
That's
and they
awesome.
Go, great. And I would go, here's the letters from our patients. That's all I got for you. And I'd say, that's all I got. Do you have any questions for me this year? Oh, no. I saw Carl was whatever. And I'd say, that's all I got for you. If you don't mind taking a read through those. And I would get my ass out of the room. Let's waste each other's time. There was a bar across the street, by the way, from in Sacramento. So I'm not going to lie, but there was more power in those letters. You can do that. You, in your practice of one, and you have 15 new patients a month, you got 15 letters. That's it. It's that simple.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. And that call to action, Jerry, I want to reiterate that. I think it's up to us in the clinical practice. The N of 1, right? The N of 1 sees 20, 30, 40, in some practices, 60 patients a week. Like, we have the opportunity to reach levels and layers of advocacy on a grassroots that are unparalleled with me going to the Capitol in Texas or me flying to Washington and saying, hey, we do a good job. You need to allow us to have access to patients.
Right.
It makes no sense. It has to be, part of this has to be stemmed from a consumer uprising that demands the best care, that demands the best care for what they have and what's going on with them. That's it.
And
Absolutely.
if anybody wants to state it's political, I'll say, yeah, it's political, and it's your job and it's your profession at stake. So you can tell me you don't want to talk politics at work, but last time I checked, everybody wants a paycheck every 2 weeks. So you got to take a step back, my friends, and understand that we can help these people. We're a solution to healthcare. You have set something up in your community that's benefiting your community. You're paying taxes, right? Let's make sure that people in your community can access you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well put, guys. Great job. And like I said, I think at this point, this is a good wrapping point for our first step here. But, I think for now, there's going to be a lot more of this stuff kind of rolling out over the next couple weeks, months, and year. But if for now, the first step, I think, is if you've got any questions or anything you'd like to talk about, you can find me, Jerry, or Mark online. Twitter's obviously a good place. All three of us reside there. You can check out my website, pteducator.com. All my links are there. Jerry, if you want to give them all your info.
You know what? Go to Twitter, Jerry Durham PT. Go to my website, jerrydurhampt.com. And connect. Well, the best place to go is Twitter. And I swear to God, if you follow me, I almost guarantee you I follow you. It's a rare day when a PT finds me before I find them. But if I don't, sit tight. I find you, DM me. My DM on Twitter, it looks like most people's text messaging. And I'm happy to communicate with you about some strategies to make this happen in your community. And by the way, we're talking, what are the three most restricted states, Mark?
Missouri, Illinois, and Texas.
Okay, and there are limits in other states. You guys realize this is not a state issue, because what worked anywhere will work. If we put the patients at the center and we engage the consumer, it works. So don't think you're in another state. You got to find someone in your state. Don't get me wrong. Find the people in your state doing. Yet there are people outside of your state who can help you. I will help you. Thank you.
Here's a prime example.
Well, here's a. Can I put in a crazy point real quickly?
Yeah, go ahead.
Right? Like, to be honest, there's only 18 states that have unrestricted access in Texas, in the United States. The's only 18, right?
Yeah, so let's not get all pompous in our direct access states.
We got a lot more work to do in these other states, but
this is a
little bit of catching up.
This is a legit issue for every single state, every single legislative session, because it's going to be under fire from every other profession. So this isn't just for Texas, Illinois, and Missouri. This is for all 50 states need to call to action every single year to fight for our profession. Bottom line.
Well put, Mark. Mark, go ahead and tell the listeners where they can find you at as well if they've got questions or follow-up.
Well, you can find me in Austin, Texas. I hang downtown, walking around, just hanging out at the Capitol of Texas. I'm also on Twitter, Mark Milligan. Yeah, keeping Austin weird. Mark Milligan DPT on Twitter, Facebook, wherever. That's also my email at Gmail. So markmilligandpt@gmail.com. I'm always open to questions, concerns. I'm a resource. That's what I love to be. So reach out and we can connect.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time, guys. I appreciate it and look forward to working with you a little bit more.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for putting this together, F. Scott.
Yeah, agreed.